morning, Franklin family. You can see I'm just chilling this morning on our 11th day. Can you believe it? We're at 11. Wow. But you know what? Today, I figured since yesterday was a little bit scary with the April Fool's joke, stuff like that, today we ought to just have a little bit of a talk. A little fun message, but also something that you might be able to keep and remember. So, today, I figured we'd just relax a little bit. Got my bear, I got my bean bags, I got all I need. So, there's something really important I want to chat with you about today. And that is the concept and the understanding of fear. Now, what is fear? That is a tough question. You know, there are some famous people who've talked about fear. One of which name was President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Clear back in the 1930s. He said this: the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. You know, fear is one of those things that incorporates probably every facet of our lives. So what is fear? Fear, sometimes we all think about it, we're just like, oh, it's when I'm scared, or when I see a scary movie, or Halloween sometimes people can scare me. Yes, that's part of it, but fear is so much more. So I just believe that every negative emotion, every one, that's sadness and depression and anger and frustration and all that type of stuff, they all come from a sense of or state of fear. They say all fears of spiders, fears of height. I mean, those are the three big ones. Fear of spiders, fear of height, and fear of public speaking. Those are big ones. But what about fear of I don't want to clean my room or make my bed, but mom and dad keep telling me I have to, so if I don't clean my room, then I get in trouble. Scientists believe that there are two core fears. I mean, not just the ones we just talked about right there, but two that are under all of those others that brings fear to the forefront in our lives, and we don't even think about them. The first one is called fear of failure, meaning I'm not a good person. The other one's called fear of loss. Fear of loss is essentially saying life isn't going the way I want it to go, so I'm going to be sad, unhappy, frustrated, that type of thing. So not having what you want to have happen, so to speak. Now those two fears are very powerful. If you can think about it, we got this COVID-19 going on, and we've all been sent home. And me, you, dads, moms, parents, grandparents, everybody is worried about this COVID-19. They're worried about wearing gloves, touching too many things. We've quarantined ourselves. And the answer is that okay? You bet. But how does the fear help us? How does that fear weaken us? That's the insight we want to think about here. Now, that brings up some interesting conversation, because Ralph Waldo Emerson said, fear defeats more people. I want to say this right. Fear defeats more people than any other thing in the world. Ralph Waldo Emerson, famous author. Can you believe that? Fear defeats more people and more things than any other thing in the world. Let's think about it. If we have fear of failure and fear of loss, let's pertain to us right now. We're at home. We're probably stuck here. We can't go outside and play with our friends. We miss school. We miss hanging out with co-workers and buddies and all that type of stuff. So we're stuck. Some people, wherever you're at and you're stuck, life has changed, and it has changed from what you thought was the right way. Does this make us bad? No. We're still going to school. We're still taking care of ourselves. That's very important. So why do we allow this fear of our life not going the way we want it to go to dictate how we feel? Are we angry sometimes with friends and neighbors? Or our moms and dads? Or brothers and sisters? Are we depressed? I can't find anything to do. Life is terrible. Are we sad? You know what the funny thing is? This just doesn't affect us. So I probably guess you've probably seen your mom and your dad probably angry or frustrated or sad, or because guess what? Life has changed for them. It's called fear of loss. We have not been able to really control it. But the good news is we can. I'd like to share with you a story about when I saw fear. It actually happened when I was about my mid-20s, okay? I had just joined the military. I had been in the military probably a couple of months. I just got out of ROTC, going to Utah State University, and had just joined the military, and I'd gone to my training to become this special person in the military. Now, when I say special, everybody thinks, oh, he's gonna do something really cool. He's gonna carry bombs, he's gonna have a gun or something like that. And the answer is no. I got trained in what was called services. Now, services in the Air Force is the person that does food and fitness and lodging and laundry and mortuary affairs and child daycare and changing diapers and all that type of stuff. They take care of everything in the lives of military people. Kind of like your mom. But don't call me a mom. That would give them a bad name. Moms are awesome. But it was my job to kind of take care of people. And so I went to my training to become that. But when I got back, I had only been back a couple of weeks when something crazy happened. One morning, I had just gotten up out of bed. My boss gives me a call and says, turn on the TV. And I went over to the TV, and as I turned it on, right there on the TV were 2 towers burning. I had anger feelings, I had frustrated feelings, I had sad feelings, all mixed up. I don't think there was a person in this entire world who didn't have an effect of that 9/11. And I know that was before most of you guys were born, but it had a huge impact on us. Now, I sat there going, oh my goodness, this is terrible. And my boss calls me up a little later on that afternoon and says, pack your bags, you're deploying. And I went, okay, where am I going? He says, I don't know. I said, how long am I going to be gone? He says, I don't know. So I went and I did what I was told to do because I'm a good soldier, and I went and I got all my stuff fixed together, and I got packed up and all that type of stuff. And I remember this big giant truck coming out and picking me up. And I had kissed my wife and brand new baby goodbye and got in this truck and off we drove. And we drove right out to the flight line. And we got out to this flight line and there was a humongous plane. It was one of the first times I actually got to get close to a military plane. And it was humongous. The back of this plane was opened up. And they were driving things onto the back. I mean, it was awesome. We got this big giant forklift that was carrying boxes and gear and all sorts of, a Humvee drove onto the back of this. I went over and I got in this line. I was standing in the back of this line. And as I was standing in the back of this line, I watched this forklift and it was on the ramp with 2 dog kennels. That's right, dog kennels. And the sergeant that was in the front of the line was walking down the line checking on people, and as he gets back to me, he goes, oh, good. And I went, what's up, Sarge? He says, well, you're the highest ranking person here. That means you're in charge. Where are we going? I was like, I don't know. Well, I have no idea. So I said, I don't know. He looks at me and says, so how long are we going to be gone? And I was like, I don't know. But I remembered that feeling, that hopeless feeling that I had. So I turned to him and I said the only thing I think of, which was, when I know, you'll know. He kind of liked that answer. So he nods his head and he starts walking back. And I sat there at the back of the line going, oh my goodness. I have no idea where I'm going. I have no idea how long I'm going to be gone. And now I'm in charge of a plane full of people, like 20, 25 people, and all this gear and equipment, and I don't even know what's in the plane. But I'm really good at flipping burgers. But being the best officer I possibly could, I waited for all the others to go and sit down and grab chairs. Well, these guys are really smart. They saved me a seat. They saved me a seat in front of the dog kennels. Now, I don't know if you've ever had the chance to meet a military dog. This was my first experience. They look a little bit like this. No, they don't. They're more like this. No, that's not it. Actually, they look like this. And this is what they look like when they bite you. However, I sat down in front of this dog, and he looked at me, and no joke, he was like drooling, salivating, and he was probably the most scary thing I've seen ever, because we were literally like 2 feet away from each other, right? And as we're sitting there, he starts to bark. Now, little did I know that when I turned to the sergeant who's sitting next to me, I said, "Sarge, what's the name of this dog?" He says, "His name's Barco." I went, "Barco? That's interesting." He's like, "Yes, but the interesting part is Barco just had throat surgery. And this bark still haunts me in my dreams. It's a scary part of my dreams because it sounded like Darth Vader. It's like, I was looking at me like, I'm going to eat you." So I sat there in my chair and I went, I don't know where I'm going. I have no idea how long I'm going to be gone. I'm in charge of a plane that I don't even know what's in the boxes, and a dog wants to eat me. This is going to be a great day, I can tell. And then the plane took off. Now, so when we took off, the engine sounded just like this. We were up in the air almost 30 hours. Yeah, that's a long time to be in the air. And that's the only thing you can hear constantly. I mean, we ate our food, we took our naps, we slept in the Humvee, on the Humvee, under the Humvee. It was crazy. Well, as we're flying in the air, right about that 30-hour mark, over the loudspeaker comes a voice. And the voice says, "Attention, all, we are coming in for a landing. We will be doing a special landing, so please make sure the gear is locked down, that you are locked down, and that you are prepared for a combat drop." I don't know what a combat drop is, so I turned to the next to me and I was like, "Sarge, okay, what's a combat drop?" And he says, "You're going to want to sit down in your chair, lock all your seatbelts up, grab your pillow, and try to put your head between your legs." I went, "That's not normal." But I watched as everybody goes over and sits down in their chairs, and they lock all their belts in, they got all situated, some of them grabbed pillows, and they were trying to lean forward as far as they could, and I'm like, what is going on? And I sat down right in front of Barco. Now here's the crazy part, and this is probably what really scared me the most. When I sat down in my chair, Barco was not barking. He was looking at me like, what's going on? And I looked, I was like, I don't know! And his eyes were big. He was looking at me like, this is crazy. Even Barco knew something weird was about to happen. He could sense it, and I was like, this is not right. So I sat down in my chair, and I kind of leaned over as far as I could, and Barco was sitting in his thing, and then all of a sudden the engines do this. They go, now let me tell you what a combat drop is. A combat drop gets the permission from the ground crew to land the plane any way he wants. I'd never heard of this. So, when the engine's cut off, the plane tips. Now, why do they let them land it that way? Because if you land in a hostile place that may have rockets or shoulder things, that could shoot down planes, it's real easy to hit one that comes in slow and low, like at a normal airport. It's really hard to hit one that goes like this. So, as the engine's cut off, the plane tips. And I'm sitting against the wall like this, and I start to lean way over, like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And then we drop, and as we're dropping, like, this is not good, And then he levels off, and as he levels off, I'm like, you ever been on a roller coaster ride? You know where you drop off into nothing, you're just like, and then they hit that bottom, your stomach comes up, and you're like, and you think your stomach, your breakfast wants to be lunch. Well, times that by 10. Because as we went over that, I was like, this is terrible. And then got down. It was like, oh, good, that's over. And then he did it again. And I'm like, we did this like 3 times in a row. About the 3rd time, I realized something. It was like deja. It was amazing. It was like, boom. I looked up, and there was Barco. And as we went over that first rise again, that rise just barely, I was holding on. I watched as Barco's eyes got really big, and as we started to drop, his ears started to float. And as we dropped right off the edge, he lifted off the ground! And I'm like, Barco's like, and he's like, what? I'm like, I don't know! And as we came down, it's like, right down there on the bottom of that drop, Barco goes, bam! Right down on the ground. And no joke, he looked at me and said, what's going on? I have never been so scared in my life. I had so much fear because I had no way of controlling anything. I had no idea where I was going. I had no idea where we were going to land. I just knew that it was a bad place. And a dog wanted to eat me. So my heart, it was pounding so that I could hear my heartbeat in my head. It was that scary. Now, we did land safe. We came right in there. Thank you. And we landed so nice. It was great. Nobody shot at us or anything like that. We landed in a country called Qatar or Qatar. Now, I may tell you another part of the story later on. I don't know. But it blew me away how important and how... I had seen fear before. I had seen so much. Yet, right here, when I got off that plane, I realized that I was never going to let myself be that scared again. Because every time I went over the edges, I had a choice. And that was the amazing part, is that I had the opportunity to choose how I was going to experience what I was going through. No matter what, if I was taking a test, or with my brothers and sisters, or on an airplane with a dog that wants to eat me, it did not matter. I had the choice to choose how I was going to face that problem. Is fear going to be there? You bet. We're really good at making fears in our life because we always think life is changing, and we always think that we are not good at times. That we're not good enough. Those two fears, they control so much in our lives, and when we realize what they are, we can learn to overcome them. Is mom and dad stuck in the same situation as we are? Yeah, mostly. Is our teacher stuck in the same situation we are? Yeah, mostly. So I don't have to worry more about my life being crazy because I'll grow accustomed to this. We're only 2 weeks into this. We do have clear till May 1st. That's another 3-4 weeks of bad videos by Coach. But we don't have to allow our fears to dictate sadness, frustration, depression, anger. You get the idea. All those negative emotions. We can still put on a smiley face. We can still choose to go through this experience together. And we can do it without letting fear overcome all our other emotions. What a fun morning! Thanks for joining me today for my Thursday Thought of the Day. I hope you have a great day today, and I'll see you tomorrow. And enjoy your time. Have courage.